Hi guys and welcome back. This time around I bring you the TRN Conch. This is one of 3 IEMs which TRN has launched now around this 11/11 sales period. The other 2 are the MT4 Pro and the BAX Pro, which is a tribrid. Anyway, with regards to the Conch, it's a single dynamic. I'm not really too sure what was the reasoning behind the name Conch. Well, okay, fair enough. The actual IEM itself looks like a conch shell, but I know that spiritually conch shells have a significance. They carry a sense of calm, of healing energy with them, as well as promoting open-mindedness and relaxation. So I'm not sure if that name was then to promote a calmness whenever we listen to music, or promote a healing effect when we are listening to music. But anyway, there's a spiritual significance associated with the name Conch. And I'm positive that they must have also, to a certain extent, given it a certain meaning to the name. As for the IEM itself, which is what is of interest to all of us, 10mm DLC, like I said. It's got a very nice shell, which I'll show to you in a second. It comes with, the sleeve. I'll show you the box. In the back, it's got some writing, not really important. I mean, in terms of, there's no real specs being told, other than that it's a 10mm dual magnetic circuit driver. The box itself opens up like so. You have the IEM sitting over there, and then it brings a very nice selection of accessories. If there's one thing I have to say, is that in terms of accessories, it's got these, it brings these silicones here, which, maybe 1 second, I'll actually show it to you. these darker silicone tips. Let me see if I can, there we go. Okay, it's these darker silicone tips, which are actually not bad. Excuse me, I've used them before, and they're alright for a stock tip. Obviously you can get better results with other tips, but they're fine, they're not bad. Then it brings a set of foams, which are here, and it brings also where is it, a set of the T-tips, the 3 sizes. So it's got 3 sets of tips. It brings then the various terminations for the cable, which is a modular cable, so another plus point. Okay, so modular cable. The cable is actually quite nice. The only thing which I don't like, and we've seen this cable before in the TA3 and TA4, is the termination when it comes to the IEM. Right, not really the nicest looking, doesn't really make justice to the cable or to the IEM itself. And if having decent tips already associated with the actual IEM, a good modular cable, it still has adjustable or removable nozzles rather. They have this, as you can see, like a blue O-ring, a black O-ring in the bottom one, and the center one is a red O-ring, and that means that they all have different characteristics which they implement onto the sound. The blue ones, I'll call it transparency. The black ones, excuse me, are called the oh my god, trying to read let's see if I can focus this, is what is it, doesn't want to say, I can't believe this. There we go, reference, and then the other ones are the atmospheric immersive. Basically the difference between the tips is really very simple. While these 2 which are here in front of us have got like peaks at around 2 point something, and then it's 4 point something, and emphasize that area there of the post-PENON, sorry. The immersive ones, they give a smoother PENON gain, peaking at 3 something, so just relaxes that energy. And in my opinion, that's why I'm actually using those tips. Those nozzles, terminations, it gives the nicest sound. It's a more coherent sound that doesn't have any harshness or any aggressiveness or any excessive energy which can color the sound in a negative manner. So removable tips or removable nozzles, here I go with the tips. Nice tip selection. It's got the modular cable, carrying case, and all of this on an IEM which is metal shell, a DLC driver, and costs $30. This particular unit, I got it from HIFIGO. So I want to thank them for that. So when you consider these factors, you know, good accessories, a decent, what seems to be a decent driver, nice build, metal, you know, build or alloy build of the actual IEM, and a good cable with the removable nozzles and everything, and you see the price $30. This has the makings of being potentially a market disruptor. Let's put it that way. In terms of the fit, there are two things that I want to bring to your attention. If you look carefully, it's got the combination of like what is a let's say a bullet style IEM, okay, with a more traditional shell. By the way, so that we also get this out of the way, that vent that you see here on the rear of the shell, okay, there, quite big, is being used by TRN in the conch to kind of control the air that circulates inside and around the driver, thus reducing possible points of peaks or anything of the sort in the frequency response of the actual IEM. It's something very similar to what we've seen as well being used already in a few other IEMs, namely the R2E3, the Mermaid, the Zhulinniao Z4 also uses that system, as does the Splendor. I'm trying to remember the name, the first name. Anyway, so there's a couple of IEMs which are using this system to basically control the resonance inside of the actual shell, and then obviously do away with those resonances in the actual frequency response. But going back to the fit, the fact that it has this combination of two shapes, and that it hasn't got a very pronounced angle of the actual nozzle. If you look, the angle is not very pronounced, okay, which by contrast, for you to see and to understand what I mean, let me just grab here quickly, for example, the EW200, okay, and you can see now the difference in the angle of one and the other. Let me take the cable out of the way here. Okay, now you see how much more angled the EW200 is on my right hand. Okay, what that means is that the IEM can sit straight in my ear, and it's got the right angle to introduce itself into the air canal. While here, the IEM actually ends up having to sit in a more angled position. Okay, so basically, in terms of the fit, it will be somewhat dependent on what your ear anatomy is going to be, which is always the case anyway. So some care must be taken there. And it's really a pity, because it's the only real negative aspect that I have to point out towards the actual build. The nozzles themselves, they unscrew quite nicely, but they haven't got exactly a lot of thread as well. But there's enough thread for them to be tightly secured or anything. But I also would advise some care when you are screwing it in, so that you don't in any way damage the threads on either side, or either on the nozzle, it's the nozzle bit that comes out, or on the actual body of the shell. So that's it. In terms, like I said, of the hardware, it's perfectly covered. It's got a few little details you have to be taken into account with regards to the fit, but it's a nice IEM. It's well built. It ticks all the boxes, and it gets it gets the job done in a very efficient manner. On to the sound, which is what we want to know. We are here to know, or to hear from me, what is the sound and what is it compare like with the IEMs that I have selected, and what have I selected for you guys. I've got here the IVPIQ. Oh, sorry, this one is not the IVPIQ. This is actually the Cadenza. Okay, I've got here the QES Cadenza. I've got over there the IVPIQ 100, the 2023 version, so it's different than the versions from before. Then SIMGOT EW100, EW200, and EA500. And then at the far right there, I've got the APZ Q5 and the Zhulinniao the Z4. I selected these. I could have selected that, but I selected these because they give, they've got a very similar sound signature to the Conch, and I think it will enable to position it very well. Okay. Starting here with the Cadenza, they graph very similarly. The difference is in the amount of energy which is existent on the conch in the upper mids and treble as compared to the Cadenza. So there's more detail here. There's better technicalities here as compared to there, which is saying a lot, because I personally think the Cadenza is a brilliant sounding IEM. It's got, you know, the right amount of bass with the right amount of weight and speed, perfectly executed mids, and the highs, although it's an area that could have been just slightly more pronounced, they are perfectly executed. And that's exactly what happens in the TRN. In terms of the bass, it's fantastic. It could be a smidge quicker, but it's fine. It's not exactly a slow bass, but it's not as quick as, for example, the bass on the EW200. So it's got a nice, well-executed bass. No sub-bass focus, no bleed into the mids of any significance, let's put it that way. Nice transition into the mids with a perfect pinna gain, like I said, with this particular nozzle peaking at around 3K. So nice and smooth, nothing is too forward. Vocals, male and female vocals come across perfectly. Female vocals perhaps a little bit more, they shine a little bit more than the male vocals. Transition then into the treble, again flawless. There's no harshness, no sibilance, no nothing. The whole frequency response you know, is very well done, very well done. So frequency response is covered on the Conch. As for its technicalities, nice enough width of soundstage, so it's got a good sensation of 3D, good height. The depth perhaps not the best, but in terms of width and height, it's perfect. So there's a nice sense of space, of air. Imaging very good as well. It, you know, didn't really have much trouble in positioning and separating instruments and voices and so on. So pretty decent as well in that aspect. Detail resolution, very nice, very nice. The detail resolution, or detail retrieval rather, let's put it that way. Resolution also very good. And in terms of its timbre and tonality, for me again, and for my personal taste in the music that I listen to, it was perfect. I would perhaps say that maybe with the other nozzles, not with the red nozzle, maybe the timbre and tonality can become a little bit too pronounced, in the sense that it becomes a little bit too fake, and maybe as well those other nozzles, because they emphasize specific parts of the frequency, which I'll show it you later with the graphs, can also make the you know, just things a little bit more just pushed in a negative manner. So they make the sound more colored, while with the red nozzle everything is very much realistic, very much true, or, you know, organic, let's put it that way. Technically, soundstage, nice width, good height, the depth acceptable, so there's a good sensation of air, of space around you. Imaging as well, spot on. It you know, separates instruments and positions things quite well. Detail retrieval, again, very well executed. Resolution, very well executed. And finally, the timbre and tonality, again, for me, for my taste, for my music, perfect. It's spot on. With the other nozzles, instead of the red one, the detail resolution, the detail retrieval, sorry, doesn't, okay, it's perhaps even a little bit more improved, but not by much. But those nozzles, because they emphasize specific parts of the frequency, they have a tendency of also making things perhaps a little bit excessively colored, while with the red nozzle, everything is more organic, more true to life. So what I'm basically saying now by giving this whole description of the sound of the Conch is that compared to the Cadenza, it is a better IEM. It's not a monumentally different sound in terms of the improvement. So it's not like you have the Cadenza and you buy this and you know there's going to be a big leap in sound. No, what you will notice between the two of them is that this has got more up top, so more twinklies and sparklies, definitely. And if you favor that, obviously this is then going to be an upgrade. But the biggest reason here to choose the Conch over the Cadenza is the fact that you've got the exchangeable nozzles, which can, you know, maybe you can adjust the sound more towards your liking. Maybe you like tinkering around and you can actually change the filters on these. And that is something which, you know, has got a certain value associated with it, obviously, and brings a much better accessories package. Compared to the IVPIQ, the 2023 version, it's very much the same situation as with the Cadenza, although that does have more detail in the upper mids and treble than the Cadenza. So I would actually say that the IVPIQ does a better job of holding its own against the Conch. Ultimately, the Conch again beats it because of the price. That's $45 roughly. So the price here of the Conch again will be the main or the first determining factor to choose between the Conch and these two. And again, then afterwards, the sound is slightly superior. There's just that little extra touch of polishness in the sound here as compared to these two. Having said that, and let me again repeat, these two IEMs play very well. I mean, the Cadenza will obviously be the one that's most known by most, not so much the IVPIQ, but they both are very good sounding, very good examples of a Harman tune, which to a certain extent with the red nozzle, that's what you're getting here. Compare them to, well, I'm going to compare them to all the SIM gods, but compare them to the EW100. Straight away you notice that the bass here is more well executed than there. It's got just that little extra speed, that little extra weight. So bass wise, the Conch is better. In terms of mids, very similar, very similar mid presentation. Highs, again, very similar. On occasions, the highs on the EW just get a little bit on the limit there, while here, it doesn't really happen, again, because of this red nozzle selection. So overall, although the EW100 costs $20, and it is probably the best or one of the best sub $20 IEMs, it's a tough one to choose between the two of them, because the fact that this brings such better or improved accessories over that is straight away a reason to go for the Conch over the EW100. Sonically, it's the one that is able to keep up with the Conch's sound the best up to the ones that I've spoken. Compared to the EW200 and the SIMGOT EA500, those two are superior IEMs to the Conch. Let me just make that perfectly clear. What will be the determining factor that you might consider that over those two is the fact that you have the exchangeable nozzles, which you can use on the Conch, which on the case of the EW200 you can't do it, it's fixed. Okay, on the case of the 500, yes, you can change the nozzles as well, so that at least is up there, but you are basically stuck with the tuning that the EW200 brings in its stock format, which is an amazing tuning, mind you. Let's make that clear. It's every bit as competent as the EA500's tuning. I personally still feel that the EA500 edges out the EW200, although many people think otherwise. They actually think that this is better, especially in terms of the bass. But sonically, that there just has a little extra polish. I can't really put like a finger on it and say, oh no, it's this here. But you notice it on specific songs. For example, Two for the Road from Chris Botti. How can I explain this? This plays his trumpet fantastic, beautifully. That there, it just gives a very slight extra life to that trumpet without entering that part of, okay, it's aggressive now, it's going to hurt me. So it's not like there's a huge difference between the two of them in sound. No. There's just a very small amount of extra detail, of extra polish on the SIMGOT side as compared to the Conch. But on the other hand, the Conch has got better accessories, has the versatility of the tuning. So again, this is a more sensible choice. Compared to the EA500 sonically, it's no comparison. The EA500 is just a better IEM in everything, even in the bass, where supposedly it's bass shy or bass thin or whatever. It is a better IEM. Obviously, we're talking $79 there. It's more than twice the price of the Conch. Tough one to kind of outright say, no, you have to have the EA500 over the Conch. But being honest and being sincere, that is a better IEM, and the difference in the price is justified. It is a better IEM. Okay, so that's the reality. Okay. EPZ-Q5. The EPZ-Q5 sits very much in the same group as the EW200. It's one of the selections that I usually recommend at around $50 or below if you want a very well-tuned single dynamic. Compared to the EW200, I just feel that the EPZ has got a bass which is just ever so slightly more warmer. That's it. They really are. It's not like one is the winner. They are so evenly matched. It's a tough one. And again, and with compared to the Conch, the Q5 is the same situation as with the. It's got just that extra amount of polish in the tune. It's not a huge difference, and I'm sure that many of us, and even myself, under certain circumstances, I won't even be able to distinguish the three of them. I won't. What makes you choose the Conch again over the Q5? Sorry, is the price. Okay, and finally the Zhulinniao, the Z4. It's again a more expensive IEM. We're talking about an IEM for around $60, give or take. So it's almost twice the price of the Conch. But it is an IEM that I think if you have it, this makes sense to buy, because the bass this has is welcome. The extra bass energy, not the bass quality. The bass quality of the Zhulinniao is phenomenal. Okay, it is phenomenal. It just needed the little bit extra quantity. But again, it's depending on very much on what your library is. If you're listening to things like I've got playing in the background, Chris Botti, which doesn't have really that much bass energy, this probably, you know, does a good as job as any, as the Conch in giving you that nice, you know, smooth presentation with just the right amount of energy, with specific instruments, with just the right amount of intensity that you would expect. So you know, it's again, and let me make something clear. It's not there's monumental differences in terms of sound between these IEMs. No, there isn't monumental differences. There's some differences here, some differences there, you know, but in terms of overall sound, they are very, very equal. The EA500 is the best IEM here for me. It's the best IEM of all the ones that I have here. Okay, that's it. The EW200 and the Q5, they are very close, and these three, they trade blows all the time. I mean, they do. The Zhulinniao compared to the Conch, they are definite side grades to each other, okay, because although both have their strengths and their weaknesses, they complement each other very nicely. Compared to the Cadenza and the EW, the IVPIQ 100, definitely more treble here than on the Cadenza, better polish in the overall sound than on the IVPIQ, but the deciding factor again, and I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself, but that's its biggest calling card, I would say, is the price that it has. And with the EW100, it's kind of a similar situation as on the 200 and the Q5. Very, very competent little IEM. It loses out to the Conch in the way that the bass is presented. Okay, that's the biggest difference there. So guys, there you have it. I mean, Conch has all the boxes ticked, in my opinion, in terms of price, how it performs, the versatility of the nozzles, but that it brings, fantastic accessories both in tips, in cable, decent enough case. So you know, in costing $30. I mean, it's really a no-brainer. To be honest with you, it's a no-brainer. I'm not gonna like say no. You gotta go buy a Conch, otherwise the IEMs, any one of these that you have, are outdated and garbage. And no, I'm not saying that. What I am saying is that if you are in the market for an IEM, you know, and you are considering things like the Cadenza or the IVPIQ, if you know about it, or the EW100, then this here will be a sensible, better choice than those three. That I agree. If you, on the other hand, are choosing things like or you're looking at the Zhulinniao, and you know, okay, this is a good side grade. If it's the EW200, the EI500, or the Q5, those three are overall better IEMs. They've got just that little extra. Does it justify the price? Only you can say. But anyway, that's it. I'll show you now the graphs and we'll wrap it up. Hi guys, and welcome now to the graph section for the Conch, the TRN Conch. This is the graph using the red nozzle, as I mentioned. As you can see, it's very well executed. It's kind of got a harmony vibe going to it. Sub bass focus with the a nice transition to the mid bass. It's almost flat by 300 hertz, and then it's got this nice progressive slow pinna gain, peaks at around 3k, just over 3k, plateaus, a couple of related, and extension past 10k. So beautiful. The other nozzles, what they do is they boost this area here between 2.5 and 3, between 2 and 3, sorry, and they boost again this area of 4 and 5. So you've got like 2 peaks here, okay? But anyway, I'll show it to you just now. I'm just gonna get the red nozzle compared to the IEMs that I selected, because this is the nozzle that I heard it with. In terms of the frequency band of operation, we're talking about something which sits between roughly 9 dBs of operation. Okay, so yeah, you could say it's got a V-shaped vibe into it, although I didn't really notice the mids, vocals to be recessed or anything of the sort. I guess it's because you don't have much bloat here from the bass, which also helps make things nice and clean. So it's got a nice bass presence, but it's nice and clean. There's no bleed or anything of the sort. So compare them to the IEMs that I selected. Let's start here first with the Cadenza, and then the XINHS, the IVPIQ 100. Sorry. So number 8. This is compared to the QE's Cadenza. And as you can see, I mean, they look almost brothers. Same sort of bass, same sort of mids, just a smidge more energetic, but then it starts decaying straight away after the 4K maximum, let's say. And that it's very noticeable. It's a darker sounding IEM. It's not as detailed, not as crisp. It's just got that little extra crispness, the conch. Compared to the IVPIQ 100, which is this one, what basically happens is the IVPIQ, let me just take away here, the IVPIQ emulates what is the graph with the black or with the blue nozzles of the conch. But contrary to the conch, to a certain degree, it actually is able to sound how can I put this? They sound almost identical. Let's put it that way, with the different nozzles. The difference is that the conch sounds smoother, while the IVPIQ has a tendency of maybe like reaching its apparent limit quicker, although it hasn't really reached its limit because you can push it still a bit more and it doesn't distort. Okay, that's basically the difference. But anyway, be it the IVPIQ 100 or be it the Cadenza, the conch is a better execution. Okay, it's a better execution. There's more value for money there. So that's those two out of the way. Compared to the, I'm going to show you the Zhulinniao first. Where's the Zhulinniao? Zhulinniao, here we go. So compared to the Zhulinniao, I mentioned, and I said it's a different tuning, and it is not as bass prominent, but then the rest is very similar, as you can see again. The rest is very similar, and because it doesn't have as much bass, it sounds every bit as clean and as detailed up top as does the conch. So, maybe the difference that could exist here ultimately is, certain music can sound a little bit too clinical on the Z4, while maybe on the conch you get a little extra organic sensation, a little bit extra life. But then there are other songs which is completely the opposite, so that's why I basically said that these two would be side grades to each other. Just to note that the bass, although it seems like it's significantly less, no, you notice there's less bass, yes, but the quality of the bass, I would even say that the Zhulinniao's quality is slightly better. It's just a little extra more snappy, more clean. Okay, so that's the Zhulinniao out of the way. Now compared to the SIMGOT brethren, so let me see, where do I have here? SIMGOT. So this one out. This one can also go. This one can also go. Okay, so compared to the EW100, which is this one here, number 10, it's got less bass, the EW10, and it's more pronounced than what the graph says. Mids, like I said, are basically the same, and the EW100 has got very good technicality. It's not in vain that it's one of the top IEMs at $20. for nothing. But it just doesn't sound as polished as the Conch, and that's why the Conch becomes a more sensible choice. All right, so that's the Conch compared to the EW 200, and this is again going to surprise you. Look how similar they are. They are almost identical. The EW 200, I would say, it's just the quality of the bass in certain passages is just a little extra more snappy, more speedy than on the Conch. But the main deciding factor, let's call it as it is. The main deciding factor, is ultimately price. Versus what one offers and what was the other offer. But sonically, they are very, very similar, with a very small minor edging out of the SIMGOT in certain occasions, but very minor. Okay, so that's the 200 out of the way. Compared then to the 500, and the bass is so much. No, I never found it that way. I actually found the bass to be more than enough quantity to keep up with the music I listen to, and then this relation that they've struck between the bass and the sub bass and the bass and the mids dictates for the sound of the EA500 to be very detailed, very clean, but it's never, in my opinion, reaching levels of being clinical or being sterile. No, there's always a very good sense of life and of organic or of musicality, of an organic feeling, with the music reproduction with the EA500. And truth be told, the Conch does do a pretty good job of keeping up with the EA500. It does. So that's the 500. I've shown you the 200, shown you the 100, shown you the XINHS and the Kiwi Cadenza, EPZ Q5. Last one to show you. Again, very similar graph as you can see. And it very much repeats the same situation as the EW200 in terms of its performance and so on. Let me just get here the EW200. Here we go. So number 11. Let's put all these three together. These three are almost identical, honestly. The differences that exist you can argue maybe it's just my brain, but the differences are very, very, very minor. I mean, that's the truth. Very minor. They all have this very much Harman tuned signature. Everything sits within a window of about 10 dBs, give or take, a little bit less for the Conch. But what makes the Conch stand out next to these two is the fact that it's got the exchangeable nozzles, the nice accessories package, all for a much lower price than the Zhulinniao, which also has exchangeable nozzles, by the way, can offer, or that's the truth. The EW200 just loses out straight away in terms of its accessories package. Should that be important or not? Maybe, but they all sound very similar and they're all very competent, let's put it that way. So that's it, guys. That basically wraps it up. I hope I was able to position the Conch nicely with regards to these other IEMs here. It's not an IEM that outright just beats them. No, it doesn't. It's got its plus points. It beats, yes, the XINHS and the Cadenza and the EW100. Yes, it beats those. But it doesn't beat the 200, doesn't beat the EF500, doesn't beat the Q5, and there's plenty others that I could have also selected. Doesn't beat them. They trade blows here and there. They kind of come out very equal in certain aspects, but it's the price at which TRN has positioned the Conch that I think is going to be one of its determining factors for success, because it is giving us a sound which is very much a EA500 type of sound. Let's put it that way. Okay, at a much reduced price. I mean, we're talking values for the Conch, which with the accessories that it brings and everything, it's unheard of. That's the reality, guys. That's it. I think I'm gonna wrap it up. You guys already know questions you might have or doubts or something. Please ask me and I'll do my best to answer as soon as possible. Okay, you take care now. Bye bye.